organizations, because there's like the normal, or seen as normal, like authoritative power where it's positional power, but also just relational power, like who listens to who, why, how deeply can they be swayed, like what are those bonds like? And symbolic frames is much more like cultural based, like it's very symbolism, as the name kind of implies. It's about like the inspiration and the meaning assigned to things. So whenever it comes to like processes and rules and policies that are similar to the structure, where they differ is that for the symbolic frame, they'll say that the importance is really like in the why of the processes and like the intent behind it rather than the effects that happen during it. That's the end of the slides that I currently have. Whenever I'm done describing the 4 frames, then we'll go back to the activity that I had you start at the beginning, and this is where we'll do the math to fill out which of your frames are strongest. So in doing so, you'll add up all of your numbers for the A's, and that will be your strength number for your structural perspective. And then same with B's, C's, and D's, and then that will be through the list, like your number of strength with each of these 4 frames. And now whenever it comes into reframing and then the multi-frames, as you might notice that you're not even, like you can be strong in more than one rather than the standard assumption of you'll be strongest in singular one. And that just means that you already practice reframing, whether it's been consciously done or not. But being able to change, hold on me or hold on them? Okay. You're good. So being able to change your lenses is whenever it's beneficial for when your worldview, like whenever you come to that boulder for the first time, and it's not even a hurdle because you know how to get over a hurdle, you just jump them. Boulders, you're not entirely sure what to do, but lenses can help you look through and see like, okay, how I would traditionally look to get through this path doesn't work. What else can I do? And so if you find out that like, oh, you're a human resource frame, and you come to this problem and your people orientation isn't getting you through this problem, you can look back and look at either one of these remaining ones and be like, can I get through this problem using this method? And being able to just find something where if you feel lost, there's another way to try it. There's not just one shot to get through. And it's really good, it's a good defense against that feeling of like helplessness and being stuck in situations where you just don't know how to move forward. It's to reframe your situation and being able to look through and be like, okay, I've tried my normal. What's plan B? What's plan C? And those might still even be within your frame, but at one point you're gonna exercise all of your abilities in your one frame. And so being aware that the others exist and that you have other options, even if they get you to step outside of your comfort zone, it's good to expand upon your mental abilities and just know that you do have more options that are available to you, even if they aren't what's comfortable immediately. Thank you.
Very good.
Exactly.
Okay, any feedback?
Yes.
I would maybe break this up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe just like, I don't know if flashing would be good because then it's just like, oh my God, and then it goes away. But maybe just separating it into individual slides.
Yeah, I've thought about that, but then I was going back and forth of it being like a slideshow versus being the talk, and then I got confused about visuals, so I did that. But I do think that would be better. Sydney, Maraki, wrong M.
I think especially for the beginning, you're really soft spoken, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. I think you just like speak up and like just be a little bit more like assertive too.
Stop having a stroke early. Yes.
Stand tall. Yes, I like that. That is perfect. Stand tall. The slides, I think you can also replace this picture, stack your picture, like people into looking at things, struck at things, instead of just having words. Because it's not interactive at some point. Like, it's just black and white, right? So
Yeah.
like, just having more things I think would help you really good. Your content is amazing. So embrace it. I say stand tall, be loud, be outspoken, and then demonstrate that within the body language. Like you were just standing in it quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, like that, you said that.
Mm-hmm.
Like you could just make it more a conversation instead of like a very distant.
Oh, no,
Yeah.
But I think that I got it.
Mhm.
Yeah, so let's I like that you're doing like images, so like symbolic.
Yes.
And you'll have like a carnival temple that can be more, it's creative and it can have more color and
Mhm.
structure. It can be literally like just a box. Yeah, maybe not do that, but
Mhm.
like something
But
that-
images.
It's that visual, yeah, and it really, it's gonna have your audience engaged with this and with what
Mhm.
you're saying.
Yes. And
Also,
so more picture, less word, more word.
yeah, and then also, don't be afraid to share examples, because you're giving really detailed, you are giving detailed, description.
Examples.
Having the examples will help reinforce it and make it applicable to like the audience, like why it's important for us. So, I like
Thank you. Anything else before I go to Gallagher?
Okay. I really liked, I like that you're using the assessment a lot. I liked, and I really liked the boulders and lenses. So I liked that, and I wish you talked a little bit more about that. Like that, I don't know, that was the first time where I was like, oh, Dharma, this is less of a lecture. So it felt a lot like I was sitting in a classroom in a big university, and you were the professor lecturing to us, the audience.
Yeah, I wasn't sure how to cut that.
So I really want to challenge you to think about how do you bring more of you into this thought? Because this is not intended to be, and if I ever gave that impression, that was not my intent. It's not supposed to be a lecture. It's why do you think this is so important? Why do you think this is something that this entire audience needs to know? What is it about you that makes this stuff seem to be so important? Does that make sense?
Yes.
So I want to see more of you. Yeah, the table is hard, I have that. Pay attention to your card, because at one point you got really you got like overwhelmed and you weren't sure what you were going to do, and it got very distracting when you were making those. You'll do it at the talk with the frames, and Bronwyn got this, I think, much better than I will, but really help create some imagery in people's heads. Like she was talking about the carnival theater. Like when I think about, what do you think about when you think about these things? When I think about the symbolic theme, I think about traditions at college, right? When I think about the political theme, I think about the message, right? But really, very structured, very process-oriented, very bureaucratic. So when you think about the human resource frame, I think about other aspects of CADI, or I think about my organization that meant everything to me as an undergrad. What is it that each of those frames make you think about that can help us relate to the content? Does that make sense?
Yes.
And then, I like, you talked about lenses later on, and I wish I heard that a little bit more early. So like introduce that concept earlier on and let them know what you're doing, right? And maybe
Yes.
that means talking about paradigms, maybe that means talking about rose-colored glasses, whatever it is, create some more meaning around that. And help the audience really understand this idea of reframing. So you might want to just start by talking about reframing, right? And maybe that's where you start with talking about paradigms, right? We all have this way of looking at something, and an important piece for leaders is to be able to reframe, to be able to look at things from other perspectives, to be able to use different paradigms or metaphors or concepts or images or challenges together to make sense of our surroundings. Because when we use those different frames or different ways of looking at things, it helps us cope and be productive and move forward on our hardest challenges. Does that make sense? My last comment, because I need to make it, is this really should have been ready tonight. This is dress rehearsal. You should have been ready. And you're dressed, but this isn't ready. And that makes me very concerned about how am I going to know you're ready next week.
Yeah. I'm going to try to get it to you as soon as I finish it.
Okay. So, and that's all I have. I have this, but I'm also going to I'm recording this, and it'll be in the cloud. So you can just go in and see whatever it is you need to see. Does that make sense? Okay. Work?
Mhm.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so let's get you unhooked. And we'll have to do a quick unhook and rehook, so you will walk off stage. I'm good. So you'll walk off stage, and there will be, I mean, the rest of us, everybody but Meraki will be backstage. So, so it'll be fairly quick to swap out. Do you have pockets? You do. So it's even easier for you. You just have to set it there.
Okay.
And then I'll put it right.
Okay.
Okay, sorry, I'm not.
No, no,
trying
you're
to
good,
be
you're good.
Odd or weird.
Yeah, I don't doubt that. You're good.
So that might, okay, so let me swap out, and then Dharma, are you leaving? You're staying, yes? Okay, will you pick up that iPad and just be the camera operator? Because you're fabulous. Okay. So. Okay, we are swapping to the next person, and we've moved the microphone. All right. And Sydney Elliott, go!
Hello, everybody. My name is Sydney Elliott, and today I will be talking about conflict. So, have you ever looked at someone and just thought to yourself, man, what I wouldn't give to just kick you in the shin right now? I know I have. I think we've all been a part of conflict before. How many of us have avoided conflict? Raise your hand. Yeah? Yes? Yeah. So, avoiding conflict does absolutely nothing, and I know that's a hard pill to swallow, hard pill for me to swallow as well. But avoiding conflict does nothing but escalate the situation, especially if it's a problem that's reoccurring. We as humans are pack animals. We don't want to confront things that are bothering us because we don't want to face rejection. We are afraid that if we confront people about our conflict, that it'll turn out something like this, right? But just because it has the potential to become uncomfortable doesn't mean that conflict will always resolve itself in that way. So when we face conflicts, it's important to nip it in the bud, so to say, before it spirals and spirals and spirals some more until you can no longer manage it comfortably. So in this talk, I will and it controls our emotions. Biologists argue that the amygdala has a natural tendency to lean more. But sociologists disagree. Sociologists believe that we, as humans, have the ability to work through our have to go to the fear response the same way that animals do. We are able to learn our behavior. In fact, sociologists argue that the aggressive behavior is learned, probably from childhood. We can unlearn this behavior and put in things that are more beneficial or efficient overall in managing conflict. So, conflict has been always with us, always a part of our history. In fact, there are new evidence coming out in the historical community that says that the Neanderthals, the original people walking around, were not in fact wiped out by the climate change, which is what we had believed before. In fact, they believe that the original humans actually hunted them down for food. So conflict has always been a part of us, and conflict can sometimes be violent, but we as humans have the ability to feel empathy. That means that we can feel like what the other side is feeling, and meaning that we can change our approach to conflict. It doesn't have to be aggressive, and it doesn't have to be fearful. So next, I will talk about the specific methods you can use when dealing with conflict. So there's a couple of different methods you can use, like compromise, collaboration,
accommodation, and mediation. However, for this talk, I will focus specifically on compromise and collaboration, which I argue are the two most necessary for conflict resolution. So with conflict and collaboration, you can manage conflict yourself. So for compromise, we compromise every single day of our lives. This morning when I got up, my roommate made it to the bathroom before me. I had wanted to brush my teeth before I got ready for the day, but life happens. So we compromised. I went and dressed first, and then I went to the bathroom after she was done. Whether we recognize these as compromises or not, we compromise all the time. So compromise, when in a conflict, shows that you value the person's relationship over your own ability to be right. So compromising allows the other person to also play a hand, which goes into collaboration. So collaboration makes the world go around. You can see that in international relations. Collaboration is very important because when we don't collaborate, things get very, very bad, as we've seen with several wars. So when you collaborate in a conflict, that allows the other party to feel like they have control, to feel like their thoughts and their opinions are validated. And when we have conflict, it's generally not just one-sided. We usually also play a role in this conflict. So when you collaborate, that allows both parties to come to an agreement on what they can do moving forward that can better improve their situations today. So now is time for the 5 tips and tricks that I mentioned earlier. So first, you want to listen to what the other person is saying. So it can be very tempting to go out, have a meeting, and then lay everything out on the table all at once. This can make the other person feel like this is a personal attack, right? You don't want to be attacking this person. You want to be collaborating and compromising, right? So that means you have to listen to what the other person is saying, even if you may not want to, because trust me, I know it can be hard. I know it can be very hard. But by listening, that shows the other person that we care about them, not just ourselves. So secondly, know what your triggers are. I know that for me personally, I have triggers that may come up in a scenario where I'm trying to resolve conflict. But by knowing what my triggers are and paying attention to them, I can better control them so that the other person doesn't, misunderstand what's going on when I suddenly get very emotional. And when I do start to lose control, I like to pay attention to my 5 senses. So taste, smell, hearing, sight, and touch. Yes, there we go. So when you're able to pay attention to your 5 senses, this allows you to better ground yourself in where you are right now and not just freak out on a person that doesn't really understand that what they're doing is triggering to you. So third, seek collaboration, not punishment. It's very tempting to play the blame game, very tempting to just lay it all on one person. But by doing that, you're blocking off avenues in conflict management. They're not going to want to collaborate and compromise with you if you're blaming them for every single thing that's gone wrong. Fourth, be specific, all right? So if you come up to, let's say, your suite mate, and you're just like, I don't like the way we're handling these dishes are driving me crazy. Well, what is it specifically? Are they in the sink too long? Are they in the drying rack too long? Are they using your dishes? What's going on, So be specific about what the changes are that you want to see, or they're not going to understand what they need to change in the future, and they're just going to be on edge and walk around on eggshells around you. And fifth, use humor. Everybody likes a little chuckle every once in a while. When it's appropriate, use humor. It sets you on edge, or it sets you at ease, and it also sets the other person at ease, and lets you know that it's not a life-ending, relationship-ending conflict. So, some final thoughts. Conflict is with us everywhere we go. Every day we see conflict. Some of us may be in conflict right now. Now, for me, personally, I have not always been good at conflict, right? My freshman year at Cotty, I had a suite chair who was very overbearing, very touchy, would touch my face a lot, and I really did not enjoy that. And instead of saying anything about it, I just sort of tried to let it go. Except when you have a conflict like this that's just occurring over and over and over again, there's no letting it go. It doesn't get better, right? You don't get over it. If it's bothering you now, it's going to bother you even more later. So instead of saying anything, I just lived miserably for a year, right? I would not recommend that. When you wait to confront a conflict, that means that this has just built up over time and just bubbled and bubbled and bubbled until it's bubbled over. And when you get to the point where you bubble over, there's no conflict resolution, conflict management skills to be had. It just flies out the window. You're too emotional to manage anything, really. So be sure that you don't avoid conflict, right? Avoiding conflict does nothing for anybody, and the other person may not even know that what they're doing has caused conflict in the first place. All right, thank you. And here are some references.
Okay, here's what I wanna do.
Okay.
I wanna do your feedback after Meraki goes.
Okay.
She has to be at work in
Okay. Sounds good.
I texted them saying that I'm gonna be 10 minutes late.
about 10 minutes late. But I've got notes for you,
Mhm.
and if you have thoughts forward, just hold on to them.
Okay.
Is that fair?
Yeah.
Does that work?
No, that's great.
Okay, Meraki, you're gonna use this one? No, during the other thing, you'll use the. Well,
How is she gonna?
we can see how that other one goes, and if the other one is a lot better than that one,
Yeah,
I can just give her the handheld. If we have to do that.
all I know is the quality on that one is very low.
Okay,
It's
we will
really,
plan on using the other one. And I can probably speak loud enough in this room
yeah,
to not need one.
yeah, I'll just have to make sure that, I don't know that we have
This
those
is-
turned on.
Yeah, I did not complete it, so.
Wait, which one is which?
Oh, it's the, what, right there?
It's the one that doesn't have the first slide. So
This one?
start
To
with
the right.
third one.
To
Yes,
the
it's
right.
that one,
Oh, it is.
This
Oh,
one?
my bad.
yeah.
Okay, okay. Oh,
No,
present
but
it.
that's brown one, isn't it?
No.
Oh.
It says BR, but Bronwyn's is this one.
Oh, my bad. Okay, yeah. I just got it mixed up. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's what I did.
it's on the first one.
Okay.
You're trying not to make it seem horrible.
Okay.
It's right at the very top. There's a couple. So as soon as you come off stage, there's a couple. And then you go in. No, 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 it's fine. All right. Right.
Good evening. How many of you thought I was going to come up from the front stage? Or how many of you were comfortable with that change? And how many of you were not? So the 20-50%, the 20-50-30% rule of Ralph says that 20% of the people who are going through change are always going to be going through the change. 50% are always going to say, 50% are always going to say, let me go through it and then I'll tell you about it. I'm not sure how this is going to go, but I'll still do it. And the 30% are always going to be resistant to that change they're going through. I was that, the 50%. When I first came to America, even when I got my visa, I was still thinking something is going to happen. Somebody's going to deport me back home. Even when I'm here in America, I still think, am I still here? Like, is this real? Am I really living my dream? Or am I not? So we always expect that. But I was one of the lucky people. And mostly that's not the case. 60 to 70% of the change we go through fails. that is valid. Thirdly, give people information and do it again and again and again. There is no lack of information when you're facilitating changes. It's always a good idea. When we were going through COVID, I remember listening to the news every day, but every day we were engaged into the process. Yes, are we depressed? Yes. Are we mad, angry? Yes. But the lack of information kept us to having that tomorrow there is going to be new news, but we're going to hear about it. So the second part of change is change. So when we go through that process, it could look different things. It could be strategic, that is big moves, big picture plans. So deciding which college you're going to, buying new property, changing a new job, those are big strategic changes that we're gonna go through. The structural changes are more of goal-oriented, such as organizing our schedule for the next semester, or going through accountability chart for organizations.
Nothing. That doesn't. Check.